Yes, thank you. I like the Wisconsin pull right there. My ex-husband's a Minnesotan, so I have, some experience. Although I'm an LA girl, but people think I'm from New York, so whatever. So I'm born and raised in the LBC, and I gotta say, I mean, I like me some Snoop, I like a little Tupac, and I'm living in Texas right now, but I definitely miss SoCal. So I have the funnest job, and I literally have probably had 20 jobs my whole life. I'm the Jane of all trades, but they wrote that in the LA Times. I literally am a matchmaker, and so when people say that, they're like, "A what? A matchmaker? Like that millionaire lady?" We all know the blast from the past, the Patty, the millionaire matchmaker. But I get to do that. I'm a recruiter, right? I recruit quality people for other quality people. Businesses use it all the time. It's a much better way to find a good fit, of a candidate. So, and I got into the business because I became single in my early 30s. I'd been married for 10 years, had three little kids. I did a 50-50 schedule with my ex husband. And on the days I didn't have my kids, I wanted to date. And I saw somebody online, or I'm sorry, on TV, and they're like, you should get in my matchmaker database. And so I Googled LA matchmaker databases, which I encourage everybody, just get in the databases and get great photos, because now it's competitive, man. It's just like being online. I am literally all day looking through women's photos. If your photo doesn't catch my eye, you're not good enough for my client. But so I went on dates for all these matchmakers, a lot of LA based ones. And it was great because it was safe. You knew that even if the guy was a weirdo, like nothing was going to happen because everyone's kind of accountable to a matchmaker at the end of the date. You give feedback. So if you weren't into him, you just had to tell her. I swear, one of the guys I went out with, he worked for USA Today. I think he was gay. I was like, I think he's gay. like, like all good. I don't mind going on the date because I'm fun. Like I'm always the common denominator. I was fun. So and I was lighthearted about it. I mean, people are getting really bitter, so they're like, I don't want to go out, and he was no good. And I just had a client go on a date this weekend, and the girl's like, he didn't know who Red Hot Chili Peppers was. I'm like, the guy's 58. Who cares? Like, he'll be the best, like, boyfriend, husband, and you're going to be single for the rest of your life because you can't get over that. Like, stop it. So I literally went on a date for the company I currently work for, which is Sync Matchmaking, Cinque. And what I realized is that they were really professional because there's a lot of bad matchmakers out there. And so I had mentioned to them, it was a bunch of 20-year-old girls setting older people up, older divorced people up, which we have a whole different realm of dating. When you're divorced with kids in your 40s and 50s and 60s, what you're looking for is different than in the 20s. So these 20-year-olds are all setting me up, and I'm like, time out. Like, y'all could use a little help. So I asked if I could jump on board. I'm a friendly person, I'm always making friends. And they said yes. And I've been working for them for over 10 years. Yeah. There's way more to it. Well, I mean, and in the meantime, so I'm working at this matchmaking company, but I'm watching people be terrible daters, right? Just because I can get you a first date doesn't mean you can get the second date. So I'm starting to realize, and I used to be a teacher. I was a Spanish teacher and a culinary arts teacher, and I love to teach people. And I'm pretty honest, which needs to be said because even in dating, look, I gotta tell you, a lot of these older guys are like, I look and feel young. I'm like, no, bro, you look old. You look old. And these girls say that to me, and you do look old. So I just started coaching a lot, and that's kind of where Dating with Katy was born. It was during COVID, nobody was dating, and I would tell my kids about all the stupid things people would do on these dates that we had sent them on. And my kids and I, one day, I'm just like, I'm going to create Dating with Katy. I'm just going to coach people to better dating. And so I always say, I want you to get confident, be successful, and have some fun dating. Like, what happened to everybody? They're just cranky, bitter people now. So I love dating when I was single. I'm happily married now. I'm taken. Thank my husband's name is Jim. He's in Dallas, so I moved with a man. Totally worth it. It's a tough pool out there. One of the things I always say is out of the 100% of people dating, 80% are junk. They're just junk. Like they shouldn't be dating, but they are. And then 20% are quality, but you got to then filter out of that 20%. So when you find a good one, you got to lock her down both ways. So, yeah. Always a great question, and the answer is no. I never dated anybody that I worked for. Now there are definitely men. The men that I attract, that I represent, typically they're the kind of guy I would date, and they want to date a girl like me. I mean, that's kind of my niche. Is that men want to date three things I always say, ladies. They want to date someone who's fit, fun, and feminine. I mean, I can't meet a man who's gonna say no to any of those 3. When I say fit, you've gotta be your own kind of fit. You don't have to look like me. I mean, I've always been into fitness. I used to be a trainer. I was Shape Magazine, America's 50 Hottest Trainers. I mean, I had my heyday in fitness, but it's a lifestyle for me, and these guys are looking for that. They're looking for a girl who can kind of bring that femininity, that joy, that health into their lives, because they're ball busting at their job. So they're not looking for a Miss CEO boss babe at this stage in life. A lot of them are like, dude, I married that. It didn't work. Or I'm free to travel now. Katy, I need a girl who's flexible. So those are the kinds of gentlemen that I attract into my service. But my man, I met him and I have a whole podcast on this. And I believe in you should go out by yourself. So, as a female, it is a win when you go out by yourself. You literally need to learn how to go sit at a nice bar. I always say sit at a bar that you would want to go to for a date, right? So, I would go out the days I didn't have my kids, and I used to work in retail as well, kind of part time job. And I'd go out dressed up nice, and you don't have to have a reason. Just lie, say like, "Oh, I just finished my business day and didn't want to cook." Go have a glass of wine, scan the bar. You got to be strategic here. You got to be strategic, and that's how I met my husband. I saw this good-looking, well-dressed man. He was in, I always say dark blue jeans, crisp white shirt, blue blazer. He was dressed like that, pocket square. He had just finished a business work day and I was like, that guy's cute. So I kind of sat at a corner a little bit away, and I always have this one line that says, what brings you out tonight? There you go. You can start a conversation with that. Absolutely 100%. And that's why I say out of the pool of 100% of daters, 80% are junk. Those are the people who haven't done the deeper inner work. They haven't figured out why it didn't work out with the past relationships. They haven't said to themselves, what part of it is me? Because that's the big one right there, because you are only accountable and can only change yourself. They haven't gotten their finances in order. They haven't gotten their fitness and their health in order. So they're looking for this person to complete them and to fulfill these areas in which they haven't fulfilled themselves. So that's a huge one. And one of the things I like to say is that everyone creates this list, right? Especially in matchmaking, they'll be like, well, this is what I'm looking for, Katy. And here's the big difference is that there's preferences and then there's what I call the standards that you're looking for. Now, a standards list is different. It doesn't have height, it doesn't have weight, it doesn't have income level, and of course, those are what all the ladies are looking for. It doesn't have, curves. It doesn't have any of that. All it has is how will this person treat me? Because that's what you're really living with, right? You're living with like the standards of that person. And the problem is when you don't have any standards and you're okay with them communicating terribly, and you're okay, and you keep being okay with this, then that's your fault because you didn't have any standards, so you went down to their level. So I always ask my clients, like, what are your standards? What do you expect out of somebody, and do you perform that as well? So here's an example. I just got this new client some brand new photos, styled out, and he's like, Katie, this is a game changer. Game changer. Now he's just doing his own online profile stuff. He's on Hinge. This woman literally, they talked on Friday, 10 a.m. He confirmed the date. He was the man with the plan. He gave her all the details. He texted her on, or he didn't text her, but he talked to her in the app on Saturday, and he never heard from her. So he texts me at about 1 in the afternoon, Katie, what should I do? I haven't heard from her. I said, well, what would you do in a business meeting? If you knew you had a business meeting that night, you would confirm again. And do your part, and just act like a mature adult and say, hey, I haven't heard from you. Either way, I'd like to know if you're coming. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume it's a no. If she's going to be immature and she's going to be pathetic, then that's on her. But you still take the higher road, you still do the right thing, and you recognize this is my standard. If someone doesn't can't return a text within 12 hours, that's not the kind of person I want to be with, right? So communication's a big one. There's a lot of flakes and a lot of ghosting. So I always say, what's your standard on communication? That's a good start right there. And preferences, I mean, here's the deal. Preferences can only get you so far in a great relationship. And I have a client right now, and he's great, but he has 3 divorces because he picks the wrong women. He picks them because they're pretty. He picks them because they're skinny. And so I'm sending him fabulous women, and he's like, well, they're not thin enough. And I'm like, first off, you're not thin. So, that's the other thing. It's like people have these overinflated ideas of what they deserve. So that is not helping anybody either. They're going out there thinking they deserve a 10 when they're a 6. And it's like, I even have this thing called the DQ, the dating quotient, to figure out what number you are on the scale. So people can kind of get a realistic idea. Well, I will be honest, I don't give that number. It's a quiz that I have. I think it's episode 36. Like, are you trying to date outside of your league, right? But I'm honest with my clients. Like this, I'll let them try for a little bit. I'll let them think that they're that number. Like there does come a point where you have to let your client learn on their own. And it takes a minute for them to see. Oftentimes, guys will choose the hot girl. So, you got hot girl over here who's shallow and just wants an Instagram boyfriend. Well, being an Instagram boyfriend is no fun, by the way. You're always taking her picture. You've got to be able to afford the Amalfi Coast every summer. I mean, it's exhausting. Then you've got Cutie over here who is down to earth. Her photos aren't as perfect, and she's going to be the great mom that you're looking for. But I have clients that are like, no, no, I want this girl over here. And I'm like, bro, you drive a Volvo. Like, she doesn't want to go out with you, but I'll try. So, or I'll put you on the date and then what? And then she doesn't want a second date with you. No, duh. But you got to let them learn that. So, yeah, I'm like a little sister looking out for you, man. Like, I want you to find somebody amazing, not somebody shallow. So, okay, I love this woman. I will wink face back to her because she's rock on. Like, again, she's saying, "What can I do better?" I just read a great book here, and it's called, I wanna grab it real fast, but it's, the hold on. How to Talk So Your Husband Will Listen, and it's good for anyone. You don't have to be married, it's just how to talk so a man will listen, and it's this idea, the difference of being a horse trainer and the horse whisperer, right? And I mean, not to be mean, but you guys are like little puppies. I always say men are puppies. They just want to please you. They're excited. I mean, men want to please women. And I want women to understand this. Good men, and I call them good men, not nice men. because the nice guy's the simp, right? He's like, you can walk all over him and he's just annoying and you know that. But the good man has a backbone. He's got that backbone and he's like, you know what? I don't appreciate you, not responding to my text. So I'm going to pass on you. And these girls are like, oh, you're gonna pass on me? Yeah, girl, you gonna pass. You are not all that in a bag of chips. And I think too, a lot of women are looking for the alpha male, right? You hear this all the time, the alpha male. Well, ladies, this is what I would say to you. There's two kinds of alpha males. Okay, this is my own version of it, but I think it's true. There's the alpha awesome and the alpha asshole. So the alpha asshole is what they go for, right? The bad boy. The Mr. Gregarious walks in the room, buying everybody drinks. Well, guess what, girl? When you're not there, he buys everybody drinks too, right? You're not special. And that guy is not the alpha awesome. The alpha awesome often looks like a beta. He's the quieter guy. He doesn't need to walk in a room. He has already reached, his peaks. Like he is doing well in business, but he doesn't need to shout it from the rooftop. And I think oftentimes women overlook that guy because they think he's a beta, but he's not a beta. He's just the quiet guy. And I think in this day and age, we look at personality rather than character. So, ladies, just again, don't dismiss the quiet guy. Don't dismiss that alpha awesome who's a little bit quieter. But, ladies, what I really think they need to focus on is that a man needs to be the hero of the house. He wants to he wants to be known that he is making you happy. Am I right, guys? I mean, you want to make woman, you wanna make her happy, and she needs to communicate that. She needs to be grateful for that. She needs to communicate quickly and not emotionally. I mean, I'm super emotional. I am like, "Yeah," and then I'm like, "Rrr." And I'm working on it with my man because he's Mr. Stable. And so when I get all he's like, "Mm." And, I've had to learn to, okay, this is the problem. I always say, hit the one bullet point, have one thing at a time, 3 bullet points, and let the man think, right? Let the man think. So we just really need to understand Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, another great book. Um, Yay! It's a great book. We're just like, you're the dogs and we're the cats, and I'm like, meow, and you're like, ruff, and we're like, why can't we understand each other? So, just really taking some time to make men men again. Let them be the leaders, let them protect, let them provide. When you show up saying, well, I make this much money and I don't need a man, and what's the point then? Like that's where you lose the men, and I'm old school, man. Let the men provide. Of course, have your own passion, work and make your own money, obviously, but at the same time, let the man be the man. So even with my younger boys, I have one who's 18, one who's 22. You know, I'm always like, you better pay for every drink, every meal. You better be able to do that. And if you can't, you shouldn't be dating. And of course, both boys are like, but mom, these girls want to pay half or they want, I'm like, stop. Tell them no. Tell them no. Tell you like what happened to this? Like, where did women think like I need to pay my half? Like, I don't know. It's a little discouraging. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, let me strategically answer that because the generations will look at it differently, but there's a value set to it. So yes, my man always walks on the outside. They push me and they walk to the outside. And if they forget, I just move myself. So that's the other thing, ladies. Don't be demanding about it. My boys beat me to the door. I trained my boys though. My husband, nobody trained him. So it's the same token. I got to give him a little grace, right? And if he doesn't beat me to the door, it's not the end of the story. My boys carry my bags. My boys get the groceries out of the car. I've trained my boys to be men. Because look, at the end of the day, of course I can take out the trash myself. Of course I can carry the groceries myself. But it's nice to get into my feminine and let somebody else do it for me. So those are the old school, qualities. Now with payments and things like that, women are making their own money nowadays. Look, I don't make anything close to what my husband makes. I mean, he has been owning his own business. He works 60 hours a week, but he doesn't want me working 60 hours a week. He wants me available and flexible to travel with him. So I work my little job. I bring in a different smaller bacon, you could say. He brings home the big bacon, I bring home a little bacon, and we just work with what we have accordingly. So I maybe use ours on, we're going to Greece this summer. So my money goes towards travel and his money goes towards all the bills. Like, you work that out with the person you're with accordingly. But at the same time, if a woman is trying to keep a home, make more money, make enough money, it's exhaustive. And I'm going to say, if you men want a great wife and a great mommy, she got to have a little space to breathe. Like, if she's trying to bring home the bacon too, the piglets ain't going to be happy and Papa Bear's not going to be happy, and I don't know, it's just a lot. So, oof. Well, number one, they have to be teachable. And that word, oof, I get a lot of people, a lot of men that push me back on that. Like, oh, what am I, a dog, Katie? Teachable? What's that mean? Like, okay, coachable, call it whatever you will, but you have to be willing to grow. I read this recently. There's this group called Man on Fire, which I love. I think there's this big comeback, like, of men coming back to be men, not letting the pansy, I call it pansy, but the pansiness kind of spread. It's spreading, and it's like, there's men I look at sometimes. I'm like, if crap went down in a bank, I feel like you'd be in the corner with the women and children. I'd be like, get the f out of my way! I'm taking you down. And that's scary. Like, women are like, what happened? What happened around here? I mean, I watched this one guy, this therapy guy on Instagram, and he's so nice and sweet. And I'm like, bro, I can't take advice from you only because I don't feel like that masculine hunt is in you. And as much as your therapy advice is good, I still go, your character concerns me a little bit. You should only follow people and their advice of somebody you'd want to, do life like them, right? I mean, there's a matchmaker. She's 62, never been married, telling everybody what to do. And I'm like, the woman's never been married. Y'all are listening to her. I just can't. Those who can't teach, but I don't know. It's interesting. I guess I would just wanna follow someone who's living a life, an ideal life of what I'm looking for, like, I'm happily married on round 2. I believe my round 2 is gonna be freaking rad. It's work. It's always gonna be work. Anything great in life is work, right? A great podcast, a great relationship, it's work, but it shouldn't be hard. And I think people think everything should be hard, and, well, you just like drama in your life. But wait, let me get back to the 3 words. So we said teachable. You gotta be teachable. If you're not gonna be teachable, and this is why I don't take women anymore. I will not take women because they are not teachable. They're not teachable, and here, let me say this, my male clients are not difficult to teach. They're open, they're flexible, they're like, "Whatever it is, Katie, I'll trust you." Sometimes they're a little bit of a stinker about it, and they have to learn on their own. A lot of men out there who are not my clients, I call them the bitter bobs. There's a lot of bitter bobs out there. And it's interesting. I did a podcast, and on YouTube, it's getting tons and tons of movement. So, and the podcast is called Where Are All the Good Men At? Well, guess who all the comment people are men. Like, the podcast is made for women, right? These women, where are Katie? Where are all the good men at? It's hundreds of men cranking at me like, "Rah, rah." I don't even want to think about it, but it's crazy how over 200 men have written comments on a podcast that was made for women. Like, bro, go get busy with something else. Like, get out of your mom's basement. Yeah, because they agree with you, right? They agree with you. Well, this is just a bunch of cranky men who are probably not there, and so they're the 80 percenters, and they know I'm calling them out. Right. I'm not worried. I am not worried about it. Like, call me like I and even my podcast guy, he's like, "Go get him, Katie." So I'll just be back on that keyboard and let them know what I think. But so okay, so when I say teachable, it's the females that are really hard to teach. They are just set in their ways. They really want this, and this, and they typically go with preferences. Like he has to make this much money. I had a woman, he can't ever have been married, he can't have any children, and she's 44 and she wants to have children of her own. What man wants to marry a 44-year-old woman and start having babies? That's she wanted somebody like who was married to Giselle. Who was it? Tom Brady. He says to me, "I want a Tom Brady." And I'm like, "Girl, you ain't no Giselle." Like, I can't even fathom your thoughts on this. So women have just become really inflexible, unteachable. And so we as a company and I myself I won't take them on as matchmaking clients. I just won't do it. Because I've asked that too. Like, do you promise that you'll go on a date with a guy that I really like, even if you don't think he's the right fit? And they'll say, oh yeah. And then they don't. Katie, he's 48, and I said only 47. And then I'm like, "You're cuckoo." Like, this is why you're single. So, I won't take women anymore. They're not teachable or flexible. Most guys are definitely teachable and flexible. And then, I mean, again, it's just the whole principles. I do believe in old school. I believe in old school values, and let me finish this, with new school style. So that's the other thing. Have you updated yourself? Have you 2.0'd? I mean, when I got divorced, I was actually a missionary for 7 years in China. I had 3 kids over there. I was very frumpy. Like, I was a very good frumpy missionary. And in the midst of getting a divorce and getting back on the scene and, like, realizing, "Oh my gosh, like, maybe I should up this game," I started working in retail, got all new clothes, kinda upped my look, started taking good care of my skin, and I see what a game changer it is. So you have to really be willing to kind of do the outside work just as much as the inside work, because in this day and age, when you start letting yourself go, either, gaining weight, letting your skin go, like, people notice it, and women are doing a really good job taking care of it. I just got off the phone earlier today with a guy who's balding. He's 33, he's shaving it. And he said, "Katie, you know what I really need help with is skincare. I need some skincare routine." And, we're talking about putting some tanning cream on his head so he's not so bald. It's little things like this that do make a difference. So, as much as you'd like to say, well, they should love me for my insides, come on. Come on. Everyone's visual. We already know men are, but women are just as visual these days. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a tough one, and it really depends on your values, your spiritual values, maybe your Christian-based values. So that if you do have those, do not let anything that I say waver you on that. If you already know where you stand, stand there, and that's a good thing. So I would, recommend knowing that standard before you get into a relationship, because as people like to say, "Oh, Katie, I'm looking for chemistry." Okay, first date sex is chemistry. And chemistry is this, it's just the lighter fluid on a fire. So you can't lighter fluid all day long, right? You can't just keep squeezing lighter fluid to keep a fire going. That's just not realistic. So chemistry is not in any way indicative of a great relationship. It's just chemistry and that's all it is. And I can't encourage that because you'll be let down. And it's usually harder on the woman, right? She's like, oh, but the chemistry was great. And then he didn't call me. Well, girl, you gave away the cookies. You know, Steve Harvey says the 3 month rule. I do teach 3 dates, 3 weeks, 3 months. And that's just more of giving a good guy a chance. I mean, you can also apply it in the intimacy rule. 3 dates, get to know somebody in 3 dates. Definitely have a kiss within those 3 dates. Like, have a little smoochie. Like, let the man, all these women are like this nowadays. Poor guys are like, I can't read her. It's a woman's job to kind of let him know. So, one of the tricks I have on one of the first 3 dates, and I love sitting at a bar. I like sitting next to a man. And you should have vetted him before you go on this date. So you should be excited to be with him. If you get to the date and you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought. Well, did you vet him? Did you call him? Did you guys have some sort of interaction before? So you get on the date and it's going great, one of the first 3 dates. And this is what you do, ladies. You slap his arm like that and you go, you know what? I kind of like you. How simple is that? And hey, guys, if she said that, what would you think? Like, okay, green light. I think a little smoochie. You'd love it. Guys love it. They're like, they don't know that every woman is so different. And you don't say, I like you. You say, I kind of like you. I like that little safety, right? So that's, I think, important that women kind of drop the hanky, lead we have the roses. We get to lead the calls. We get to lead the shots here. So I think it's important that women kind of do that. So guys aren't like, I couldn't read her. This was confusing. She was a little bit cold. Like, come on, ladies, learn how to flirt. And if it's a good guy, give him 3 dates. And so within the first 3 dates, yeah, you should have a little kiss. Now, I would say stop at the kiss because I do think, and there's a great book out there called The Power of the Pussy. Um, Great book, reminder to women that that's a commodity. It needs to be earned. It has a value set, and if you are giving it away, then it's cheap. And what we have to give to a man is very special. And there's sex, and then there's making love and intimacy. And oftentimes, women who just want attention will get sex. They'll get it. But what they're looking for actually is a man who wants to give them intimacy, and that's care and kindness. And sadly, if they're looking just for attention, they're just going to be getting sex. So I think it's really important, women, you have the power to control that. And if he's getting hot and heavy, you just say, hey, look, I need a timeout. This is not where I want this to go right now. I'm not ready. You have every right. You owe a man nothing. I hear this very often. Well, he's paid for 3 dates. And then what? And then what? Like, women literally think in this day and age that we owe you something because you paid for a date. So never do you owe a man anything, even if he paid for 27 dates. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Right. Well, I 100% agree. I think women aren't that smart, actually. I feel like they jump in because they think they can catch it. They think if they let the dog piss on the tree, that dog will always keep coming back to the tree. Well, guess what? That's not how dogs mark territory. They go find other territories. And sadly, I just think women are not that savvy. I think men are very charming. Those kind of men are very charming. They know. They know their words, they use them against women, and women just fall for it. I think if a woman hasn't really done her work and knows her standards, knows what she deserves, then she'll fall for anything. And I think as much as I'd like to say women are smarter and don't see that coming, I actually don't think I think they kind of fall for it too often. Well, to me, that's an easy answer. I kind of look at it as if you're searching for a new job, right? You just left a job, you didn't really love it. So now you want to go find what's the right fit for you. Do you just take the first job that says we'll hire you? No, you keep searching until you find the good fit. And I think it's perfectly fine and acceptable to date multiple people. When I say date, within the first 3 dates, you should know. Okay, you shouldn't be having sex with anybody. If you're having sex with everybody, you're a super 80 percenter and you're just trash. But you should be dating other people and you should know that other people are dating other people. You're going on dates, you're hanging out with these people, you're trying to figure out in the first 3 dates, is this a good fit? And here's my caveat: you must, as an adult, if you're going to date like an adult, you have to send the text. And I'm okay with a text in the first 3 dates because nobody wants a phone call. It's awkward. You send the text that says, hey, I've really enjoyed hanging out with you these past 3 dates or 2 dates or 1 date, but I just don't think you're the right fit, but I wish you well. And if they get all bananas about it, that's on them. But if you do the right thing, which is the right thing to do, you can move on from that person. But give them 3 dates. You know, if he's a good guy, ladies, give him 3 dates. Guys know in 3 seconds if they like her. Like I think guys know, man. They're like, and guys are way more forgiving, so they're not as overthinking. I mean, women put the cart before the horse. Can I marry him? It's like slow down. Just have fun on a first date and be attentive. And are they having fun and are they being attentive? Those are the only two things I want people to think about on a first date. So yeah, you should be dating multiple people. That's what I think. All right. So 3 dates, 3 weeks, 3 months. 3 dates is to decide, do I go forward? Do I like this person? Have they shown themselves, proven themselves as good communicators, whatever your standards list is? And here's the thing, too, is that in those 3 dates, guys, this is my recommendation to you. You're planning those 3 dates. First date is a dinner date. Second date is a fun date. Third date is a little bit more romantic date. So that we can get that kiss in if you haven't done it. So ladies are hoping and wanting you to plan those 3 dates. Now, ladies, you can give suggestions. Not every man, actually, no man reads your mind. So that's helpful in those first 3 dates. So you can really get to know someone. And guys are usually nervous in the first 3 dates. Am I right? If you really like a girl, you could be a little nervous on the first date. So give the good guy a second date. Now we move into 3 weeks. Okay, so 3 dates are over. You like the guy. So you decide, I'm going to give it 3 weeks now. That's the other period where you decide you're not going to see anybody else. You kind of want to give someone 3 weeks. So maybe they're there too. And you could say something to the effect, hey, these 3 dates have been really fun. I think I'm just going to take some time and focus on you. Now, every woman wants to hear that from the guy first. But ladies, feel free in those 3 weeks to say that, but don't give out anything else. You know what I'm saying down there? Because he's got to earn it. And if he's not at the same place, that's okay. Not everyone's at the exact same place at the same time. They could be closing out another great person. It could be a woman who's got two great guys and she can't figure it out. Keep going on the dates. Maybe you'll meet a friend in those 3 weeks. Maybe you'll see his house in those 3 weeks. Maybe you'll see her children in those 3 weeks. Kind of get to know a little bit more about her. At the end of those 3 weeks, which technically is about a month in, a month and a half, that's when you should decide. That is when we women like to hear a man say, you know what? I've decided I'm going to stop dating other people and I'd like to just focus on you. How simple is that? But this is what he needs to say too. You might be seeing other people right now. I'm not sure of your status with anyone else, but if you'd like to see just me, how about we give each other a week to shut it down with other people? I did that once with a guy. I thought that was fair. I did have other guys I was seeing, and I love that he was just like, here's a week, go figure out what you need to figure out. But after that, I want it just you and I. Because if we're all being really honest with each other, we might all have people in the background that we're still chatting with. So after that is when those 3 months come in. And that's like the really crucial time. Each of these stages, you really have to decide, is this worth my time? Is this worth their time? Like, quit wasting your time. A lot of women go into relationships that last too long. And then they're like, I wasted my time. So you really need to be thinking about, is this person for you? No, it's just and here's the next step to really think about, and this is for people who want to get married. I have a lot of clients in their 30s and 40s. If you're dating someone and you personally want to get married, you need to express that early. And then at 10 months in, and ladies, this is especially for you at 10 months, men know if they want to marry you at 10 months. They usually know early too, but they're checking you out. They're sussing you out, ladies. So they're trying to see, is she loyal? Is this woman going to be loyal to me? Is this woman a good woman? So you can't expect him to want to marry you in the first 3 seconds, 3 weeks, three dates, 3 months, whatever. It takes, I believe, 10 months for a guy to figure out I'd marry her. And I think, guys, if you are in that stage of like, yes, it's a first marriage, I want to get this moving and rolling at 10 months, this is where women start to like, is he going to marry me? Is he not? At 10 months, and this happened just recently with two of my clients at the exact same time. Both of their girlfriends were at 10 months. These girlfriends were like, what's the deal? What's the deal? You know? And I said, guys, it's your job. You either tell her where you're going with her and you're intentional, or you let her go. That's because no one needs to be wasting 4 years of doing something that somebody wanted to do and somebody didn't want to do. Mm, mm, right. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Well, what I gave a minute ago is usually a good timeline for people who are in the process of wanting to get married. Like those my 30-year-olds who are like, I want to get married, Katy. I'm dating a girl who wants to get married. Well, bro, you better step up. She told you what she wanted. And now I'm post divorced. I usually work with post divorced people, and not everybody, people will say, well, what's your success rate? Well, some are married, some are just in long relationships. I can't define what's right for everybody. I can tell you a little bit about my story through that process. I dated a lot of guys, had a lot of fun, kind of figured out what I do and do not want. And then I met Jim, my current husband, and I wasn't ready to get married. I wanted to be around my kids. I didn't want a third party involved. I liked the unit I had with my kids. We were really tight. And so he knew that for many years he was going to have to date me long distance. We literally went back and forth to Dallas and California, and his effort was amazing. Women are looking for your effort. You could talk a talk, but if your effort is weak, that's what we see. His effort was amazing. I There was a season after all my kids were kind of out of the house. I said to him, I said, "Hey, look, I want a taken ring." Okay, so I literally called it a taken ring. It's kind of what you're talking about. I just want to walk around with something on my hand that says taken. And I didn't want to call it a promise ring or an engagement ring because I didn't even know if I was really ready to be married. I know deep down I wanted marriage eventually. And so I had said to him, I want a taken ring, and I found the one I want. Like I was very directive because men don't read minds. But I don't think he was quite ready for that. So we had a little bit of a buffer. I would have preferred he said, I want to make you taken. So this taken is like my verbiage, but so I think it's great. I think in this day and age there is a lot of technicalities to divorces and the numbers and the dividing and ugh, Like here was my one thing though is I wanted to truly be married. Personally, it is a spiritual thing for me as a Christian. I wanted to before the Lord be married. I want my kids to see that. And I also just want to hunker down a little bit because I'm a little flighty, and I think if I wasn't married, I could easily jump. You have to know yourself. I also thought about like during COVID, people couldn't go see their partners. You had to be married. So I never wanted that to be an issue. I've seen people who were partners and some one of the partners dies and leaves. They're living in their house. They're technically acting like they're married and they get zero money. And the kids are like, "You have to get out of my dad's house." I mean, I've seen that. That's terrible for these women who spent 20 years being partnered with a man and got nothing, you know. So I've seen the technicalities also go backwards by just being a partnership. You have to decide what's right for you. I have no judgment call on any of that. I think there's pros and cons to both. I think either way, relationships are work. So if you want a great relationship, I want to grow old. I want to have a 25-year commitment to this man, meaning I actually want to hit 25 years and smack his ass and be like, "You're still stuck with me." Like, that's just my dream and my vision, but everyone can have a different one. But yeah, it's just call it a taken ring. Say, "Woman, I want you taken. You're mine." Like, I think a woman, again, it's that same idea that we should be directed with you guys. We should throw some hints, but then again, if we're throwing too many, we feel like we're leading you, and then when you ask, we feel like you asked because we led. Here's my here's my number one hint to every man. If you're dating a woman, you should have what I call the lifeline. Okay, that is either her best friend, her sister, her mother. Like in my case, it's my daughter. She's 20 years old. My daughter is my husband's lifeline. So when he doesn't know what to buy me, he doesn't know anything, he knows he can text my daughter and be like, "Do you think your mom would like this?" So when he uses her, it always works out great. When he doesn't, it can go a little awry. So literally every guy should have that. And early up in the relationship, look at your girlfriend and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to ask you for your best friend's or your sister's phone number because I want to have a lifeline. I want to have a girl who says yes when I want to make a flower choice. Are you cool with that?" Right? So I don't see any woman who could be like, "Well, you can't know my best friend's phone number," right? I just think it's to your win. It is not a detriment, and it's going to be a major help in those situations. And you can ask her, "Hey, look, I'm feeling like the time is the time." And you just got to trust that she's not going to break it. But she's kind of the wing girl who's kind of helping set it all up, and she's going to get all excited. Or my daughter got all excited when he was going to ask me, and my daughter's giving ideas and opinions. So I think it's a really helpful way to make sure that you're on point. Yeah, that's a great question. I always say I'm a coach. I'm not a therapist, so do not take my words on this in any therapy way. I'm a coach. I'm just always like, go do this, go do this, go do this, which doesn't always work with someone with anxiety. I would say this that there's always a place in a relationship where you need to give space and grace, whether they have anxiety or not. no matter what it is. I mean, my husband, he's more of a thinker, engineer mind. So when I come on with like all my either thousand ideas or thousand frustration, I got to give the man some space and grace because he's like, whoa, whoa. And I think that's just going to be something to practice in any relationship. Now, when it comes to anxiety, I mean, that person who ever has anxiety is really going to need to dwindle down what makes them anxious. I mean, if they haven't done that, then they probably shouldn't be dating, is what I would say. I have a podcast on dating with limitations. Anxiety would definitely be a limitation. Are you really able to be fully present, fully available to give to your partner in that space if you're dealing with anxiety? If you are on meds, you got to make sure your partner knows that. When would you bring that up? I would say this: one, you need to be really firm in how you feel about your anxiety, like you're comfortable with it, you know how to express it to someone by at least the third date. So if you are on some sort of meds, if you do have an, what do they call them now? I'm blanking. An STI. If you have one of these things by date number 3, you should definitely be telling somebody because it's only fair. Because again, after 3 dates, I feel like someone should have the option to pass. Yeah, right. On the phone, like, yeah, recorded phone. As much as all that is always changing and they're creating new apps and making the newer apps different or the bumbles changing, I am still a believer in old school standards. So at the same time, I do believe in meeting people out in the real world. I believe this is the year of IRL dating, that you go out and you meet someone in places that you are already at. Everyone wants to live in this fantasy land of online dating, and I'm going to meet some great guy in New York halfway across the world. Like, girl, no, I'm not a romanticist. I believe 80% reality, 20% romance, maybe. But I want people to have great relationships, not this romantic, situation for a little situationship, right? I will say this though, my kids are dating, they're on the apps and it's fun because they actually make a lot of friends off the apps. They're not using it to date. My daughter doesn't even date. She's 20. She's like, this is my girl time. Like, I am enjoying college. I am traveling. And my kids have always dated much later in life. I don't push it as a parent. I don't encourage parents to push it. If I got 50-year-olds who can't even handle it, you think a 15-year-old can handle it? So let kids be kids. Let them hang out in groups. Let them start to learn about the opposite sex without having the pressure to have sex. So that would be my parental advice for today. But my clients are always filling me in. I love my Instagram followers. They are so helpful. I want to do a podcast on AI and dating. It's crazy right now what AI is doing. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it helpful? I mean, I wrote a cute little love note to my husband on AI, and then I even said, make it cheesier. It got cheesier. So, is that good? Is that bad? Is that helpful to write your bio using AI, Chat GPT? But then you see these oh, filters. There's like right. Filters, I mean, fake women. I posted the other day, there's this woman, she shows like an Instagram pose, and then she shows you what she really looks like with her fat belly and her cellulite. Like after she changes the lighting and the pose. And I said to my followers, I'm like, okay, well, is this like genius marketing or is this catfishing? Right? So you could call that marketing. She's just marketing herself in a prettier way. And then some people are like, well, that's catfishing. So, it's kind of a sad state. And that's why I really want this to be the year of the IRL in real life, people. Like, how do we get the confidence? How do we strike up conversations? Like, what happened to this art? Everyone is this. They're in their phones. Nobody knows how to talk. And when a guy does come up to you, every woman is like, ew, what do you do? These women are like rude about it. I just think we need to get back to some old school situations. Well, the number one thing I tell women to look for, so this is what I would say, curate this and you will win, is effort. Effort is everything. So, effort in being the man with the plan, make the date happen, be a good communicator. Like, put your effort forward. If you're in sales and marketing, you know that it's a numbers game and you got to be always checking in, like, hey, I reached out last week. Did you get a chance to check this out? In that same way, you need to really put the effort in because it's a woman's market right now, and these women are inundated with a lot of men. So, what makes you memorable is that you're going to put consistent effort in. And would you just update your wardrobe? Here's my other one. Let me just give two. I truly believe in dark blue jeans, crisp white shirt, blue blazer, and a pocket square. It just makes you stand out. It is that classic man look. If you're going on a first date, I'm telling you, everyone will go, shh, because it's rare these days, and it's a simple casual look. I mean, if it's hot out, skip the blazer, but roll up the sleeves. A rolled sleeve is such a different look. It's this casual sexy man look. So I have a lot of fun socks. I always am like, let me see your socks. It tells me a lot about a guy. So simple things like that, putting the effort into your style, the effort into like the way you keep your car clean. Like, effort is everything that women are looking for. I'm not doing that anymore. I did it. It was so cool. It was so cool. I did a dating with Katy singles trip about 2 years ago. I wasn't technically single, but that's the beauty of me, is like I am a single magnet. So I figured my girlfriend and I were already going to Mexico to an all-inclusive. I'm like, well, I'll just tell my followers, and if they want to come, they can come. And I had 7 people come, and to this day, we're all still friends. Like, my husband and I, we were in New York. We had dinner with one. The other one went on a trip to Italy with my other buddy. Like, we all are just friends, and like the 3 guys all have girlfriends now and the 2 other girls still don't, so we're working on that. But it was actually a real blast. But people are not good at committing, whether it's a relationship or to a trip, and people are really nervous about going alone, and oh my gosh, I have to make friends, this feels like summer camp again. But you got to get over that, and if you're hanging out with me, it'll be a good time. So that's I'm not sure I could bring that back now that I'm fully married, but I'm a believer in it. Like, you've got to step out sometimes and just go for something different. Fun. Everything is Dating with Katy, and that's Katy. You will find me on Instagram. You'll find all my podcasts full of great information, some hilarious stories, some of my past dating experiences. Woo! So I think you'll love that. I'm also on YouTube. If you want to work with me, there is a work with me button on my Dating with Katy site. You pop into my database. I will reach out to you. I will say, hey, this is Katy. Let's get on a phone call. Let's talk about your dating life. Or a tank top. I missed that when you didn't send me the pre memo. I did my hair and I didn't wear a tank top. Jeez.